Near death, Ash Blake is revived by an unknown benefactor, and upon his reconstructed arm, a star brand is planted. That night, a girl named Navi tells Ash that a dragon will soon be born to him. Ash attends Anne Sullivan Dragonar Academy, located in the country of Lotramont, a training school for students to ride dragons, or PAL. He has yet to summon his own PAL, but he is able to ride others' PALs, and despite being a senior student, which is met with ridicule by much of the academy, during a training session, his assigned PAL accidentally collides with that of Princess Sylvia Lotramont's PAL, the Maestro, which causes her to insult his lack of a PAL. When Ash retaliates, Sylvia challenges him to defeat her at the upcoming Ares Dragonar Festival, an annual race at the academy, and one she has yet to lose. During the race, the student council president, Rebecca Randall, announces that the victor will win a one-day date with her, prompting cheering from the crowd. Ash's borrowed pal, Bridget, is able to keep up with Sylvia, but is eventually unable to keep up with Sylvia's flying Lancelot, so he forfeits the race. While resting Brigand, Ash runs into a mysterious individual, Milgauss, who Ash recognizes to be from the rival Zephyros Empire. Milgauss is able to sense Ash's starbrand. His bodyguard, Anya, drives Ash away. When Anya hesitates to kill Ash, the ground beneath her falls apart, but Ash saves her. As he plummets to the ground below, his starbrand activates, which finally summons his par, but it isn't a dragon, it's a girl. However, Ash's pal turns out to be a cheeky girl who declares she is the master of him. Rebecca enters his dorm, who says that the Academy's authority on dragons, Angela, will soon investigate his pal. For the time being, Ash brings his pal out into the town, where they run into Sylvia, who apologizes for her behavior the day before. Ash names his pal Eiko. While Eiko is in the bathroom, she is kidnapped by an unknown assailant. Ash uses his astral bond with her to locate her, and he, Sylvia, and her maid Cosette go and find Eiko. They find her about to be dissected by a woman who is revealed to be Angela. She casts a sleep spell, which subdues Sylvia and Cosette, but Eiko channels her magic through Ash, enabling him to break the spell, and Eiko is freed. The next day, Ash and Sylvia are shocked when Angela becomes their homeroom teacher. Ash is invited by Rebecca to join the student council, who wants his help in dealing with the two spies from the Zephyrus Empire. Rebecca explains that the Empire mistakes the Dragonar Academy to be a military school, which it is not. Meanwhile, Sylvia is called to deal with an escaped dragon. Rebecca likewise responds to the escaped dragon with her pal, Ku. She is also equipped with a unique set of armor called an arch. She subdues the dragon, but Sylvia's pride is hurt. Later, while Rebecca and Sylvia meet Ash and Eiko, Milgauss suddenly summons an undead dragon called a Necromancia and attacks the town, kidnapping and consuming Eiko in the process. Rebecca attempts to fight back with her pal's attack, but is ineffective. Inside the undead dragon, Eiko meets Navi, who tells her that Ash needs an arch to fight back against the Necromancia. Navi provides her with a set of blueprints for her to forge Ash an arch, just before he is killed. Now armed with an arch, Ash is able to ride the Necromancia, and he is able to access the dragon's memories when it was alive. The Necromancia asks to be slain, which he does with the Holy Sword. During a celebration party, Rebecca extends an invitation to both Ash and Sylvia to join the student council, which they both accept. 7 years ago, Sylvia meets a boy who helps her during a ceremony to find the mother dragon, who bequeaths baby dragons unto children. Unbeknownst to her, that boy was Ash. In the present, Ash finds a stuffed dragon doll, similar in appearance to Lancelot. During a school assembly, Rebecca introduces Ash, Sylvia, and Eiko as members of the student council. Ash's first job is to take down unauthorized material, including posters of the Silver Knight fan club, dedicated to Ash's archform, but this truth is unknown to its members. During a study hall session, they meet the fan club's president, Jessica, and vice president, Lynette, who ask for information regarding the Silver Knight's identity. When Ash and Sylvia ask her to leave, she refuses, but when Rebecca threatens to expose Jessica's secret of not being nobility, she leaves. Rebecca later explains that being an arch is equal to having a noble rank, which means if Jessica were to marry Ash, she would be true royalty. When Rebecca reveals that Sylvia's older sister, the Iron Blood Valkyrie, Veronica, is visiting Anne Sullivan, the latter breaks down. Cosette later explains that Veronica put Sylvia through brutal training as a child, leading to Sylvia's trauma. The next day, Veronica arrives on her magic airship, where she is welcomed by dignitaries and the student council. Veronica is greeted by Sylvia, but she immediately sees through her as Cosette in disguise instead. The real Sylvia emerges from the crowd, and she is cut down by Veronica for her impudence. Ash is kidnapped by one of Veronica's men and is brought to her airship, where he acts as a butler under the guidance of another maid, Prim, but she is incredibly clumsy. Back on the Sylvanus, Veronica, Angela, and Rebecca discuss the recent activities of the Zephyrus spies while in the bath. Ash is also brought to them, much to his embarrassment. Sylvia appears as well, where Veronica tells her of a marriage proposal to one of her knights, Glenn McGuire. Sylvia protests the marriage, as her dream is to be the Archdragonar with Lancelot. But Veronica points out that she performed poorly in the battle against the Necromancia. Ash defends Sylvia, so Veronica challenges her instead to show her skill in a match to be held tomorrow. The next day, Sylvia performs poorly during the match, and she is knocked out during a collision. Ash carries her back to her house, where she is visited by Glenn, who tells her that Veronica instructed her to pray for repentance at St. Valeria, as Veronica is angry at her performance. Sylvia asks Glenn if he is aware of the marriage proposal, to which he replies he will marry her if Veronica desires it, which angers Ash. Glenn turns to him and says that though he applauds his skill in defeating Necromancia, he must remember his place. The next day, the student council, with Sylvia absent, discuss their escort assignments to Veronica, where they suspect a gorilla, Avdotia, who she condemns to make an appearance. While escorting Veronica throughout the town, Avdotia attacks the church of St. Valeria, where Sylvia and Jessica are praying. The student council and Veronica's unit are alerted to the attack, and they receive a transmission from Avdotia, who reveals she has taken Jessica hostage, tied to a statue of St. Valeria, and has planted a bomb next to her. Jessica posed as nobility to protect Sylvia's identity as Veronica's sister. Avdotia threatens to kill a hostage every hour until Veronica surrenders to her. Veronica sends Ash to negotiate with Avdotia. Meanwhile, Eiko is attempting to put together a new arch at Ash's request, but is having difficulty in doing so. When Anya, who is also a hostage at the church, attempts to calm a crying baby, Avdotia sends for her to be the first hostage pair killed, but Sylvia defends them. Avdotia cuts her clothes, stripping her naked, and Avdotia insults her, as her noble title now means nothing. However, Sylvia works up the courage to stand, despite her indecent appearance, surprising Avdotia. Rebecca and Glenn, in their arch armor, arrive just in time. Ash also equips his new arch armor based on old stories of the Silver Knight, and freezes both Avdotia and the bomb. Jessica, now knowing Ash's identity as the Silver Knight, wants to be impregnated with his children, and she starts assaulting him at every opportunity, but she is routinely stopped by Eiko and Rebecca. The next day, they learn that Avdotia was working for Veronica this entire time. The entire hostage situation orchestrated by Veronica to correct Sylvia's behavior. Avdotia explains that after her failed assassination attempt on Veronica 5 years ago, she surrendered and began working for her as an agent to find her missing sister, Shamara. Cosette tells Ash that the Sylvanus is named after Sylvia, which causes him to remark that that takes a real sibling's love. Eiko awakens from a nightmare of being trapped by an unseen entity, while Anya is hired to work as a waitress at a local diner. Back at Sullivan, Ash is invited to join a training camp, normally only attended by chosen elites and seniors. A young prodigy, Luca, who is touted to be even more skilled than Rebecca, is also invited, but she has not attended school in 3 months. Maximilian, the student council's treasurer and Ash's friend, informs him and Rebecca that a fire has broken out in a room. When the student council arrive, they find that there is no fire, but it was just incense being burned. Here they find Luca, who Rebecca explains is an Ekbladian, a fairy of the forest. Luca explains that her absence for the last 3 months is due to her pal, Gawain, refuses to be ridden by her. Later, Sylvia explains to Ash that the longer a rider and her pal are separated, the weaker the astral flow between them becomes, which could threaten the pal's life. That night, Eiko confides in Ash about her nightmare, so he suggests they sleep in the same bed, as this worked before. She punches him for suggesting that, but her mood improves, and she is able to sleep. The next day, Ash wants to help restore Luca and Gawain's relationship, and Rebecca suggests he ride Gawain to sense his feelings, the same way he did to the Necromancia. Luca agrees, and she brings them to Gawain, who roars her away. Ash equips his arch and approaches Gawain, which flies into the air and attacks. Ash briefly fights against Gawain, but is overwhelmed, and the plan is a failure. Ash and Eiko visit Luca again, who encourage her to try to reconnect with Gawain at the upcoming camp. Reasoning that the change of scenery might have an effect, Luca remembers her memories with Gawain, and she agrees. Meanwhile, Anya reports to Milgauss that she has infiltrated the school and will go to the training camp as part of the kitchen crew. The next day, everyone departs for the camp at Lake Alanis. When they arrive, Rebecca declares that the first day will be for fun, much to everyone's delight. That night, Ash sees Luca sneaking out into the forest and follows her, but Anya also observes this from afar. Luca snuck out to meet Gawain, and she tries to reconcile with him, but he roars her away. Ash arrives soon after and tries to forcibly read Gawain's feelings. However, he is easily brushed off, and he goes unconscious. Anya appears and ensures his safety, while Luca goes and calls for help. Meanwhile, Ash is brought into the spirit world by Navi, who has also brought the small spirit form of Gawain. Navi explains that 3 months ago, Luca fell off Gawain during an Ecbladian ceremony known as the Dragon Dance, and has developed a subconscious fear of riding Gawain ever since. Gawain has been forcibly rejecting Luca, as it would be dangerous for her to try and ride him in that state of mind, even if it means severing their astral flow. Navi tells Ash that Gawain only has 5 days left to live and sends him off with a kiss, calling Ash a Knight of Avalon, remarking that she hopes he can ride her soon. When Ash awakens, 5 days have passed, and he tells Luca what he learned from Navi. Meanwhile, while Angela explores the local ruins, she meets Milgauss and Anya. When Milgauss calls Angela Anne, she realizes that Milgauss could be the disgraced Prince Julius, who was said to be executed for committing a grave taboo of dragon killing. Later, Luca bursts into Ash's room and brings bad news regarding Gawain. Luca says that Gawain has disappeared. Rebecca recalls a story about the dragon Nuada, whose master suffered from a grave illness. Nuada, to spare its master the pain of losing him, quietly went to the Willingham Mausoleum to die. Rebecca suggests it might be possible Gawain is trying the same thing. Ash volunteers to go with just him, Luca, Sylvia, and Iko, as to not arouse suspicion from the rest of the students. The 4 arrive at the mausoleum, where they are attacked by several necromania, as this is the training camp, and both sides begin their counterattack. The 4 make their way deeper into the mausoleum, where they meet Milgauss. He calls Sylvia Sylvie, which causes her to realize he is Julius as well. Milgauss summons Nuada as a necromancia to face them. Meanwhile, Iko is inside the spirit world to forge a lightweight arch for Ash, but both they and the students at the camp are overwhelmed at the number of necromancia. Iko reawakens, and Ash dons his new arch, specializing in defensive petrification magic, and fights Milgauss, while Sylvia attempts to pacify Nuada. With Nuada calmed and his left arm petrified, Milgauss is forced to escape. Luca, having overcome her fear of riding Gawain, summons him, and they fly back to camp to reinforce the students at the lake. Luca and Gawain perform the dragon dance, cleansing the area of all necromancia. Meanwhile, Milgauss reports to the Zephyrus Empire what has transpired. While the student council celebrates the success of the training camp, Sylvia receives a message from her father asking her to attend the Elysian, or a meeting between empires. She says that Ash and Iko are also invited, as her father, the Paladin, wants to meet them. The 3 fly to the city of Fontaine, the capital of Lautremont. They arrive at the Lautremont family's castle, and Sylvia leaves to greet her father, the Paladin Oswald. He cheerily dotes on her, much to her annoyance. He reveals that the reason he invited Ash and Iko was to have someone to kill time with. She asks her father if Julius was really executed, to which he affirms, but she feels as though he is lying. Meanwhile, Ash and Iko, guided by Prim, go out into the city to enjoy themselves, where Anya observes them from afar. They see an airship from the representative of the Zephyrus Empire, and Prim brings them home. On the way to dinner, they meet Sylvia's father again, who knights Ash a Dragonar, an elite title bestowed upon riders whose pals are maestros. Oswald tells them of a masquerade ball to take place tomorrow night, and invites them to attend. Meanwhile, Anya infiltrates the airship, where she finds Milgauss, and she is overjoyed. She is shocked, however, when she sees him replace his missing arm. Klaus Winterhausen suddenly appears and introduces himself, where he reveals he encountered Milgauss after he had lost his name, prestige, and left arm, after committing the taboo, confirming Milgauss is indeed the presumed dead Julius. Klaus shows them a machine he calls the Yggdrasil device, which will forcibly awaken the dragon form inside Iko. Anya is then tasked with her capture. The next day, Iko is trying to find a dress that will grab Ash's attention, but when Prim says Ash will one day marry another human, she is heartbroken and runs away. Meanwhile, Sylvia shares her suspicions that Milgauss is Julius to Ash, and he comforts her as it starts to rain. Just as the two are about to kiss, Cosette calls Sylvia away. Ash realizes that Iko has been gone long, and wonders where she is and goes looking for her. Iko has run away to a secluded part of the castle, where she sees Anya making her preparations. But they are alerted to the presence of Prim. Ash and Sylvia are told of Iko's and Prim's disappearance, and they are reassured that they will be found soon. At the masquerade party, Ash and Sylvia meet Klaus and Milgauss, but they are unable to do anything for now. The maids have located Prim, who says that Iko was abducted while defending her. Her description of the kidnappers involved causes Ash to realize it is Anya. Iko has been brought inside the Yggdrasil device, and the experiment begins. The Yggdrasil fires a massive amount of mana energy into Iko, meant to forcibly awaken the adult dragon inside. They fire another massive beam of energy into Iko, which transforms her into a massive egg, surrounded by seraphim wings, which Ash and Sylvia see from afar. The egg hatches into Iko's massive adult dragon form and begins causing havoc. Back at the masquerade party, Klaus accuses Oswald of attacking his airship, and the guests are evacuated. Veronica and Glenn confront Milgauss and demand he take off his mask. He does so and reveals that physically he is Julius, but in reality, he is the evil part of Julius's pal, Mordred. He revealed that when Julius became aware of his existence, he attempted to kill him, with the acceptance of the good part of Mordred. But instead, Julius was possessed by him. Mordred's spirit leaves Julius's body to possess Iko, and Julius returns to his old self. Iko is possessed by the Dark King Mordred, and he meets Navi, whom he addresses as the Dragonvice, the accumulated knowledge of all dragonkind. He demands that she cooperate with them, but when she refuses, they fight for control over Iko. Meanwhile, Ash and Sylvia link up with Veronica, Glenn, and Julius, and they plan their counterattack. They use Veronica's airship to approach Mordred to take advantage of the fact that Navi is resisting Mordred, so he does not have complete control over Iko's dragon form. Inside, Navi encourages the trapped Iko to forge an authentic, original arch for Ash, as all the arches she's made all this time were simply copies or knockoffs. Outside Iko's body, Ash is saved from falling by Luca, who arrived after being warned by Gawain, and alongside her are the rest of the student council. Luca drops off Ash so he can mount Iko's dragon form, but a blast is fired at him. Iko finishes the arch just in time, and Ash cuts down Iko's dragon form with Excalibur, freeing her from Mordred's control. Meanwhile, an injured Anya is caught by Lotremont knights, where Avdotia identifies her as her missing sister, Shamara. Ash recovers from his injuries, while the student council and the Lotremont family thank and congratulate him for his efforts. They all leave, except for Iko. Ash reaffirms his devotion to her, promising to always be by her side, and she reciprocates. The two kiss, their bond stronger than ever.